Changes are coming to San Diego jails amid continued scrutiny over the county's high rate of in-custody deaths. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll, in for Maya Trabulsi. Sheriff Kelly Martinez today invited reporters to tour a renovated jail that's partially reopening this week. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen has more.
Sheriff Martinez says her department has been working to improve conditions in county jails with new technologies and accessibility upgrades. The Rock Mountain Detention Facility in Otay Mesa used to be a private prison operated on behalf of the federal government.
And when they vacated the facility, we decided to renovate it and make it a county jail to help our system with the renovations we knew we needed. So it's sort of the linchpin to all of the other renovations.
The Rock Mountain facility's renovations are behind schedule and over budget, but starting Saturday, enough will be finished to allow for 200 inmates to be moved there. That will help free up space at other jails that are suffering from a host of maintenance needs, from plumbing to electrical to HVAC. The jail system holds roughly 4,000 inmates on a given day, and many jails are over capacity. That means renovating the system involves a lot of moving parts.
It's a very complicated logistical problem to solve, and so we've got really talented people that are working on it.
We want answers, and we get none.
A small group of protesters gathered outside the gated press conference this morning. Among them was Michael Cerna, whose daughter Elisa died behind bars in 2019.
She died after falling and striking her head multiple times, multiple seizures, and jail staff ignored her pleas for help.
On Monday, a judge decided the doctor and nurse who should have been caring for Elisa Cerna will stand trial for criminal negligence. Michael Cerna says improving jail infrastructure is important, but that the problem of in-custody deaths is not getting better.
They want to take the focus off of the blame that is theirs also to bear, and just point to the public to all the things that are being changed. Instead, the 2 people died last week in custody. It's still going on, even after all of this reform. When will it end?
The 2 men who died in custody last week were 66-year-old Paul Arthur Highmark and 27-year-old Pedro Jr. Ornelas III. They were the 7th and 8th inmate deaths of the year. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
There is anguish across America today amid renewed calls for action. This after gun violence ruptured what was supposed to be a peaceful, long weekend of celebration. Mike Valerio takes us through what happened.
Amid celebrations of freedom, a sense of inescapable violence. Mass shootings marring the long 4th of July weekend across America. In the birthplace of American democracy, Philadelphia, 5 are dead after police say a gunman wearing a bulletproof vest carrying a device that tracks first responders' radio communications opened fire with an assault weapon, shooting seemingly random victims.
Point of fact is, a person like that walking down a city street with an AR-15 and shooting randomly at people is a disgraceful situation in the United States of America, whether it's July 4th or any other day.
Philly's district attorney not holding back about the state's gun laws.
Pennsylvania's gun regulation is crap. It is crap. If you go to New Jersey, if you go to other states nearby, you go to Delaware, these states are safer, and they are states that have more reasonable gun regulation.
The scenes are spread across the country, from 9 injured in Washington, D.C. to at least 10 people shot in Shreveport, Louisiana. 4 of the Shreveport victims are dead, killed at a July 4th block party.
At this point, what I am looking for is justice.
In Tampa, police say an argument over jet skis led to senseless gunfire, a stray bullet killing a 7-year-old boy.
There was no reason, no excuse that an argument can lead to gunfire, much less an argument over jet skis.
Mike Valerio, KPBS News.
Data from the Gun Violence Archive shows that since 2014, the 4th of July has seen the most mass shootings of any day in the year. The organization considers a mass shooting an incident where 4 or more people are injured or killed, not including the shooter. July 4th weekends between 2020 and 2022 saw double-digit shootings in a single day. San Diego police are trying to find out who's behind vandalism and the theft of more than 40 puppets from the Marie Hitchcock Puppet Theater in Balboa Park. Surveillance video caught the same suspect breaking into the theater twice, first in the early morning hours of June 24th, and then again in the middle of the day on June 26th when the theater was closed. The theft included a safe taken from the box office, several valuable puppets from Indonesia and Pakistan, as well as supplies for children to make their own puppets. The theater estimates almost $10,000 in damage and losses.
We're just a small volunteer organization, and we're here to make sure that people of all ages, all backgrounds, whether you're poor or rich, can come into this theater and enjoy a half-hour to 45-minute show.
Financial donations are being collected to replace what was lost. Information on how to help is on the Marie Hitchcock Puppet Theater's Facebook page. The Pride display at the Rancho Penasquitos Library branch is filled with books again. Last week, 2 anti-LGBTQ+ protesters checked out everything on the shelf. KPBS reporter Katie Hyson spoke with San Diego's public library director about the incident and the tremendous response.
Library Director Misty Jones's office is located at the Central Library downtown. Etched into the concrete wall inside the library are the words, "We read to know we are not alone." Jones says the protesters denied an entire community access to a vital resource.
Somebody needs to see that the book Trans Like Me, there is a teenager that is struggling that book could make a difference for. And by removing that book, you have taken potentially that lifeline away from that person.
Jones says the library has been flooded with emails and phone calls from across the country since the protest. All but one were supportive of the library's display.
I was actually at the Rancho Penasquitos Library on Monday, and you should see the stack of Amazon boxes that they have of people who are purchasing the books to replace them. We've had people come into the library that have never been to the library before, but they're coming in to donate a book and getting a library card while they're there. You know, so it's really been an amazing response.
Jones is now looking at how the library can extend this support to communities facing much greater censorship challenges. That includes increasing access to its ebook collection by making it available to people in other states. Katie Hyson, KPBS News.
After getting off to a rocky start last week, the trip back home for millions of holiday travelers is expected to be smoother. But the overall summer travel season is not expected to cool down. Karen Kafa takes a look at what lessons can be learned from this record-breaking weekend.
Summer travel is booming as millions of Americans skip town for Independence Day getaways.
This July 4th period is record-breaking for the travel industry.
TSA screened more than 2.88 million people last Friday, the most in a single day since the founding of the agency in late 2001. But a meltdown at United Airlines early last week, followed by severe storms across much of the country, led to long delays and thousands of cancellations leading up to and throughout the holiday travel period.
Absolutely horrific.
Leaving many passengers stranded.
Flight got canceled Tuesday, stayed in a hotel. I stood in line for 4 hours at 4 o'clock in the morning to rebook the flight.
And putting airlines to the test.
It was just kind of a catastrophic event. Some airlines were just not able to kind of get on the right foot.
Going's Katie Nastro says travelers flying this week should have better luck.
I think people should just be cautiously optimistic, not only looking forward into the rest of this week if they're traveling home, but as well looking into the rest of the summer.
And if you do have an upcoming trip planned, Nastro says to avoid travel trauma, try to book morning departures, prioritize nonstop flights, and be prepared for crowds.
Always give yourself more time than you need, especially the fact that we are going to be seeing more people traveling and, again, longer lines pretty much everywhere.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
The electric shuttle program is back in the downtown area of Oceanside starting this week. The pilot program last summer was so popular with residents and tourists that the city brought it back. The Go Side Shuttle is a 2-year partnership between Sandag and Visit Oceanside. Michelle Geller is the Economic Development Manager for the city of Oceanside.
Downtown Oceanside has become extremely popular with visitors, so that can lead to congestion. It can lead to some parking challenges. So having the EV shuttles being able to take people all over downtown Oceanside, they don't have to worry about parking or driving down here. So we definitely wanted to just make it more easy and fun for people to visit downtown Oceanside.
The shuttle can transport 5 passengers at a time. You can catch the shuttle by downloading the Ride Circuit app and choosing Oceanside as your location. It will run Monday through Wednesday from noon to 10 p.m. and Thursday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It costs $3 per person with a cap of $6 for groups of more than 2 riders. And it's quiet. San Diego residents are getting acquainted with the stinky, smelly part of their garbage as organic recycling expands in the city. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson checks in on how it's working and not working.
So this is where we keep our green bin, right next to the sink and to the coffee.
That plastic caddy contains coffee grounds, banana peels, and a sandwich that failed to convince her son to eat it. It's the organic waste that city officials are asking residents to separate from their other trash and recyclables. When the container is full, or sometime before the weekly trash pickup, the caddy gets taken to the large bin on the side of the house.
All right, so this is our green waste bin. Right now it is about halfway full with leaves and other green waste that I've picked up throughout the week.
The stinky, rotting stuff that used to be trapped inside a plastic bag before it got taken to the landfill is under those leaves. There's no smell today or flies. Greenery to cover up the waste is easy to come by now, but Leggett wonders how that'll work later in the year when yard trimmings become more scarce. And her husband is concerned about pests.
There's flies, there's mold, it stinks. But honestly, the juice has been more worth the squeeze for us, just to kind of know that we're able to have some sort of positive impact. It's a minor inconvenience.
The Leggetts have embraced the city's mandated organic waste program enthusiastically. That's the response city officials were looking for when they began delivering green bins to residents who didn't have them. The city is turning that waste and yard trimmings into compost as part of an effort to reduce climate-damaging methane emissions at landfills. And the amount of green waste composted at the Miramar landfill is up sharply this year.
We've done over 12,000 tons in this new program, and that's with 104 routes online. So we're really seeing a significant amount of material that must have been in the trash bin coming into the organic waste bins.
Robertson says this year's wet winter may have created more yard trimmings than usual, possibly accounting for much of that increase. But she says keeping that yard waste out of the landfill is important too. And so is separating food scraps from the trash, although that part generates the biggest reaction because of the yuck factor. Wrapping waste in old newspaper or paper towels can help contain the mess, but decomposing food is decomposing food.
If you're metering and putting your food waste into your green bin throughout the week, it's going to start, it's decomposing as soon as you make those cuts, right? So keeping it refrigerated or under your sink in a cooler environment will reduce all of that.
Robertson says planning helps. Some people even freeze food waste before taking it out on garbage day. For people who are intimidated by the new requirements, Robertson suggests starting slow, separating coffee grounds, fruit peels, and vegetable scraps from the trash can help build good habits.
Eventually, we'll get to the point where everybody is participating and putting everything in, but we expect that to take years, and we want people to feel comfortable starting small with what's manageable for them.
That may be a good strategy for individuals, but organic recycling is a state mandate, and San Diego should have started a year and a half ago. And a state oversight commission found more than half of the state's cities aren't even participating. Its report cast doubt on California's ability to hit its goal of keeping 75% of methane-producing organic waste out of landfills by 2025. It remains to be seen how the state deals with that dire assessment, but lofty climate goals are not the primary concern for residents who have started composting.
Our green pail that I just washed this morning since we emptied it
but I keep it under the sink.
Adrienne Hotelling uses the pail and a leak-resistant paper bag in the fridge to store the waste until trash pickup day in her college area home. She's figuring out how to best handle trash that used to be thrown away in a big smell-proof bag.
At first, it was a little bit mind-boggling, where it's like, oh, I need to line it, or I need to do something, because yeah, if you put the coffee grounds in the little pail, empty the pail, then the coffee grounds are going to go everywhere, and then someone's going to have to clean up that big trash can.
City officials hope that a long-term goal of helping the environment wins out over the short-term discomfort of dealing with smelly food scraps. That's essential for the entire state if California hopes to hit its methane reduction goals in just 2.5 years. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
Imagine a bee. You're probably picturing a honeybee because there are so many of them. But honeybees are not native to San Diego, and they're not good for all the plants they pollinate. As KPBS Sci-Tech reporter Thomas Fudge found out, they can damage the health of our region's native plants.
When we think of bees and bee behavior, we're almost always thinking of honeybees. They live in a big colony with a queen and her minions, the drones and the worker bees. But honeybees are just one bee species, and they are invasive. Southern California has more than 600 native species of bees, and honeybees aren't among them. Honeybees are also bad for some of San Diego's plant life, according to a new study from UC San Diego. It shows honeybees do an especially poor job of pollinating plants that are native to San Diego.
And so seeds and seedlings that were produced via honeybee pollination were anywhere between 2 to 10 times less fit compared to the seeds and seedlings that were pollinated either by cross-pollination by hand or by native pollinators.
In fact, honeybees are not native to any part of North America. They came from Europe and Africa. They were brought to California in the late 1800s to make honey and to pollinate flowering crops. And now they are so numerous that an estimated 90% of the bees that visit this trumpet vine in San Diego are honeybees. The problem with the way honeybees pollinate is they spend a lot of time on the flowers of one plant. That's because a honeybee's first job is to serve its colony, so it gathers as much nectar as possible in one place. But that also means when they deliver the pollen to another flower on the same plant, it becomes self-pollinated. It's a kind of inbreeding. Native bees behave very differently by moving quickly from one plant to the next, which results in cross-pollination, which is much healthier. This is partly because they are solitary bees and they don't need to gather nectar to feed a whole colony.
So they don't communicate with each other, the location of resources. They're only providing for themselves and their offspring. So they don't need to be as efficient at moving resources off of plants.
And because plants like San Diego's white sage aren't being cross-pollinated, it means the new plants will be less likely to germinate, develop, and reproduce. Which begs the question, is there anything that can be done about the dominance of honeybees in San Diego County? UCSD ecology professor Joshua Cohn worked with Travis on the bee experiment.
I personally would love to poison every feral hive for 20 mile by 20 mile square and watch for 10 years to see if we get more native bees, but I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. But Travis says he does want people in California to at least think differently when it comes to protecting bee populations.
A lot of research has come out to show that honeybees negatively impact our native pollinators. So we need to now change the public's attention from honeybees, this massively managed agricultural species, to our native pollinators that are completely wild, unmanaged, and actually threatened.
Thomas Fudge, KPBS News.
Let's take a look at these weather headlines here. We are gradually going to cool down before we slowly warm back up as we head into the weekend. Meanwhile, we keep those gusty winds in the mountains and the deserts over the next few days. Taking a look at where temperatures go as we head into tonight. Oceanside, you're down to 56. San Diego, overnight temperature of 61. Meanwhile, Mount Laguna, you drop to 59, and Borrego Springs only drops to 68 degrees as we head into the overnight. tonight. It's staying nice at the coast as we head throughout our day on Thursday, but still a lot of heat inland through the deserts. So heads up if you have any plans to go out hiking or to be out and about. The heat will still be pretty powerful throughout the day. Again, as you head further inland, a spot like Borrego Springs, 105, Mount Laguna 74, Oceanside 73, San Diego at 72, and some lower clouds here in Chula Vista. Temperatures into the lower 70s. Friday should be a nice day to be outside. Things should stay mainly dry. San Francisco, Fresno down to LA as we do wrap up our week. Let me take a look at our 5-day outlook for the coast. Temperatures will stay into the lower 70s as we head into Thursday and Friday. The weekend looks to be pretty nice, and then temperatures will start to warm back up again as we head into next week. Overnight temperatures will be dropping into the 50s and lower 60s. Further inland, we'll see the 80s for the next couple of days. 82 as we head into the day on Thursday. Friday, 80 degrees and 81 with partial sunshine on Saturday. And then we'll start to see an uptick in temperatures as we head into the start of the week. High to 88 as we head into the day on Monday. We take you into the mountains where we'll still have breezy conditions as we head into Thursday and into Friday. 74 on Thursday, but we do see temperatures drop Friday into Saturday and even into the day on Sunday before we're back to 75 and mostly sunny on Monday. Into the deserts, triple-digit heat continues here. It's what we expect this time of year. We'll be at 105 by the time we head into Saturday. For KPBS News, I'm Ariella Scalise.
Job hunters in San Diego may have a leg up compared to those in other states and cities. A study from Ringover found nearly 73% of San Diego job ad descriptions included salary ranges. That ranks San Diego as the most transparent city in the state and second most nationwide. Seattle ranked first. The study looked at more than 35,000 job listings and found that 43% posted salary information. After decades of booming growth, the commercial real estate industry has hit a wall. Building values are plummeting, offices remain empty, and rising interest rates could pressure the industry further. Vanessa Yurkevich has a look at how some buildings are being converted in unconventional ways.
They're statuesque, vast and staggering, and they're empty. Skyscrapers and office buildings once stacked high with businesses are experiencing high vacancy rates in the U.S., nearly 19%, 5.5% higher than before the pandemic.
I think it's a very unique moment, nothing like any disruptive marketplace that I've experienced over the past 40 years.
The pandemic emptied offices around the country. Today, the number of people returning to in-person work is less than 50% in 10 major metro areas, forcing companies to rethink physical office space. Half of the biggest global companies say they'll need less real estate in the next 3 years, leaving landlords with loans to pay in a bind.
If there's no tenant, you're not making money. Right. What do you do?
There's no recouping, lost income for downtime.
Stephen Durrells runs the leasing at SL Green, New York City's largest commercial landlord. With more than 30 million square feet of space to rent, the collapsing demand for office space means their tenant vacancy rate shot up from 3% pre-pandemic to 10% today. That calls for some creativity.
You can build a set in here, you can have a fight scene in here.
SL Green is now working with Backlot, a company that connects landlords at 332 buildings across New York and New Jersey with film and TV companies. This episode of Law & Order was filmed in this vacant office in Midtown Manhattan. The Watcher on Netflix and these East Side offices.
I think people are starting to look holistically at how they can support a revenue stream.
This year, SL Green says it will earn $3 million from film and TV shoots.
It's really helped mitigate the loss of income during the downtime periods.
Empty office buildings could be turned into residential, a big need. This project in Washington, D.C., once an office building, is being turned into apartments. But that's not an easy, quick fix process. Less than 1% of apartments nationwide are converted from commercial properties. And across the river in Arlington, Virginia, the city is trying to get ahead of its empty office space problem at 22%.
I'm sitting right today in Northeastern's D.C. campus. Last year, university was not allowed to take up space in an office building.
Thanks to new city zoning laws, that's now possible, along with 7 new types of commercial businesses, like animal boarding, hydroponic farms, and pickleball. It's already happening in South Jersey. This 22,000 square foot pickleball facility was a vacant Burlington coat factory in a strip mall. Regional mall vacancy is at a record high.
Were there a lot of options like this on the market?
Yeah, I think we had more opportunity than we thought there would be in the market.
Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. So does that mean that the sport needs to find places to play quickly?
The greatest threat to the growth of pickleball is the lack of facility.
On Monday, July 3rd, we mistakenly said that the Padres were playing the Dodgers at Petco Park. They are actually playing the Los Angeles Angels in a series that wraps up today. We regret the error.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, a federal judge bars some Biden officials from contacting social media companies over free speech concerns. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating and air, restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.